Daniel didn't steal the car in a burst of anger. He took it in silence, hours earlier, while the world was still asleep and the rain disguised every sound. He had followed the GPS trail all night, watching the blue dots stop at the roadside motel like a verdict being stamped onto his marriage. When he saw Emily's car parked outside that room, the last doubt inside him died. Taking the car wasn't revenge, it was interruption. He wanted to freeze the moment, to prevent her from casually driving back into his life with a lie rehearsed and a smile practiced. Without the car, she would be forced to face the consequences immediately, stranded in the reality she created. Daniel didn't want answers anymore. He wanted truth, raw, unavoidable, and exposed. The car was never about control. It was about removing her escape. Daniel had forgiven before, small lies, late nights, emotional distance explained away as stress. But the missed calls on Emily's phone told a different story. 20 attempts. 20 moments where she chose silence over honesty. As he sat in his truck across the street, watching her laugh with Jason through the motel window, something inside him finally went quiet. Not his heart, his hope. He remembered the promises they made, the nights he waited up worried, the trust he defended even when friends warned him. This wasn't just betrayal of love. It was betrayal of time, loyalty, and shared sacrifice. Daniel realized that if he confronted her like a hurt husband, she would twist the story. So he became something else, calm, deliberate, observant. This moment wasn't spontaneous. It was the result of years of swallowing doubt until clarity became unavoidable. Daniel isn't planning violence. He isn't planning confrontation, not yet. What he's planning is exposure. He wants Emily to feel the weight of every choice she made without the comfort of control. He's already saved screenshots, timestamps, location histories. The car was only the first move, an announcement that the rules have changed. While she panics in that parking lot, Daniel is preparing the next steps. The lawyer he contacted weeks ago when doubt first crept in, the bank account he quietly separated, the life he's about to rebuild without her lies in it. Emily thinks this morning is about inconvenience. Daniel knows it's about consequences. As he turns the engine off and watches her realization unfold from across the street, one truth settles in his chest. This is the last time she will ever underestimate him. Daniel Parker grew up in a house where love was conditional and words were often replaced by absence. His father walked out when Daniel was 8. His mother's emotional distance taught him that loyalty and endurance were virtues worth more than passion or confrontation. As a mechanical engineer, Daniel's life revolves around precision, logic, and control, traits that made him observant but quietly reserved. He married Emily believing that love meant patience, that emotional restraint could nurture a lasting bond. Yet, the silence in their marriage was deafening. He notices every small shift, a text sent late at night, a call unanswered, a fleeting expression of guilt on her face. Each minor inconsistency gnaws at him, forcing him to document patterns quietly, like a scientist recording anomalies. Daniel doesn't overreact. He calculates, he waits, he watches, because he knows that betrayal isn't always loud. It whispers first. Emily Parker has always feared confinement, not in marriage, but in perception. As a marketing consultant, she thrives on persuasion, attention, and charm. Her charisma is a mask hiding emotional avoidance. She radiates confidence while keeping real vulnerability locked away. She loves Daniel, in her own way, but feels trapped by routine and expectation. Her late nights and secretive behavior, password changes, fabricated business trips, aren't born of malice, but of restlessness and the need to feel alive. When Daniel questions her, she gaslights with subtle calmness, making him question his own intuition. She never screams, never slams doors, but the quiet walls between them grow thicker every day. She believes stability is suffocating. He believes love is enduring. The collision of these truths is silent but inevitable, and Emily doesn't yet see the consequences of her choices creeping closer. Jason Reed, Emily's ex-boyfriend, embodies the freedom and irresponsibility Emily secretly craves. He reappears under the guise of closure, but Daniel senses the threat immediately. Jason is reckless, nostalgic, and magnetic, everything Daniel is not. The subtle presence of Jason in Emily's life illuminates cracks in her marriage that have always existed. Daniel's tension doesn't come from paranoia. It comes from the need to protect his sense of self. He risks not only losing his wife but also the moral and emotional foundation he's built his life upon. Each interaction, each late-night absence, feels like an erosion of his identity. Daniel's quiet observations now carry stakes higher than suspicion. They are about survival, of his values, of his dignity, and of the life he envisioned. The game of subtle betrayals has begun, and only the careful, watchful player stands a chance. Daniel's quiet, methodical world fractures the moment he notices the glitch in their shared cloud account. A photo appears where it shouldn't, timestamped, geotagged, proof Emily is somewhere she claims she wouldn't be. The ping of her phone hitting that location feels like a jolt to his chest. He doesn't react impulsively. His years of emotional restraint keep him measured. He sits for hours, tracking, calculating, replaying her explanations in his mind. Conference ran late, she said. Phone died, she said. The lies slide past effortlessly when delivered with her practiced charm, but the evidence refuses to lie. Daniel's calm exterior hides a storm inside, a quiet, escalating tension that demands action. This moment shifts him from passive observer to deliberate actor, aware that betrayal doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes, it whispers, hides in plain sight, and demands recognition before it can be confronted. Daniel doesn't drive immediately to confront Emily. Instead, he waits, letting her lie naturally, watching the facade crumble under the weight of truth he already knows. He imagines her at a roadside motel, smiles and laughter masking guilt. The anticipation is excruciating. Each passing minute sharpens his awareness. Her car outside that motel will be proof undeniable. He parks across the street, blending into shadows, rain pattering against the windshield, neon lights reflecting in puddles. Time stretches, elongating his tension, forcing him to witness the betrayal quietly unfold. Watching becomes a weapon of control, a rehearsal for the confrontation he refuses to rush. In that silence, Daniel realizes that betrayal is never loud. It arrives in small confirmations, in the subtle misalignment of words and actions. This patient observation transforms suspicion into certainty. When Daniel finally acts, it is calculated. He doesn't confront Emily. He doesn't rage. Instead, he calls a locksmith, arranging a legal spare key for her car, registered jointly. Every move reinforces that this will end on his terms. He wants control, clarity, and inevitability. The car isn't just transportation. It is leverage, a symbol of the choices he refuses to surrender. He watches her unaware, knowing that the next steps are entirely his to orchestrate. This moment marks the turning point. Daniel transforms from betrayed husband to strategist. Every decision, every small, silent step is about reclaiming agency over his life. Revenge is unnecessary. Clarity is enough. By the time Emily realizes what has happened, the game has already shifted entirely into his hands. The quiet control he exercises now promises consequences that will be impossible to ignore. Emily realizes, almost immediately, that Daniel knows. The awareness hits her like icy water. Her carefully crafted lies, her late-night escapades, her secrets, all exposed by the silent judgment in his calculated actions. She panics, dialing his number repeatedly, leaving messages heavy with tears and half-truths, attempting to manipulate, charm, and beg. She calls Jason, frantically explaining, twisting the situation, pushing him to handle it before Daniel escalates. But Jason, too, recognizes the danger. His charm and impulsiveness cannot save her. Emily's confidence cracks, her carefully maintained emotional currency, smiles, tears, charm, fails to yield any control. Meanwhile, Daniel doesn't respond. He doesn't argue. He simply acts, moving her car to a safe location, leaving her stranded but unharmed. The shift is subtle, terrifying. Power is no longer hers. Panic blooms into humiliation and fear, a quiet realization that she is no longer directing the narrative of her own life. Daniel moves in silence, precise and calm, while Emily unravels. The car, once a tool of her mobility and deception, is now in his control. He parks it in a discreet, secure location, deliberately avoiding danger, reinforcing his strategy of dominance without aggression. Each move is deliberate. The lawyer he contacts, the joint accounts he separates, the screenshots he organizes, all lay the foundation for legal and emotional control. Every action communicates that Daniel's calm is more terrifying than rage. His methodical approach contrasts with Emily's chaotic panic, highlighting the shift in power. What once allowed her freedom now chains her to the consequences of deceit. Daniel's silence is his weapon, his patience, his leverage. He doesn't confront, he orchestrates. The quiet control he exerts dismantles her world without a word, creating a suffocating pressure that forces reflection, fear, and recognition of the betrayal she thought she could hide. Hours later, Emily returns home, drained, shaken, and unsure of what awaits her. The locks on her house have been changed. An envelope sits ominously on the counter, neatly addressed in Daniel's handwriting. The calm precision of his actions underscores the emotional weight she carries, every lie exposed, every manipulation rendered meaningless. The betrayal is no longer secret. Daniel has not screamed, not shouted. His silence and deliberate control convey far more power than words ever could. Emily's internal unraveling intensifies. Humiliation, fear, and a deep sense of helplessness settle in. The emotional pressure is palpable. Where once she orchestrated control through subtle deceit, Daniel now dictates the terms of reality. The house, the car, the keys, the envelope, all symbols of the consequences she never imagined. The silence is his, the game is his, and Emily must reckon with a truth she can no longer avoid. The moment Daniel finally faces Emily is almost surreal in its quiet intensity. There's no shouting, no accusatory gestures, just a tense stillness that fills the room like smoke. Emily's eyes dart nervously, searching for a reaction, testing if the storm she's long avoided has finally arrived. She begins to speak, carefully, blaming the distance in their marriage, the quiet he carried like armor, the loneliness she felt despite his presence. Her voice trembles, betraying shame beneath rehearsed excuses. Daniel listens, impassive yet fully absorbing every word. The silence between them is heavier than any argument could be. Every pause emphasizes the gulf that years of betrayal created. His calm is deliberate, almost surgical, stripping away her defenses not with fury but with clarity. In that room, control has shifted entirely. The one who once waited silently now commands the narrative, leaving Emily vulnerable in ways she never anticipated. Daniel reveals the twist with quiet precision he knew months earlier. The car, the lawyer, the careful documentation, everything was part of a premeditated plan, a controlled response rather than an impulsive reaction. Emily's partial confession and rationalizations crumble under the weight of his foresight. Messages from Jason are forwarded, each lie collapsing in real time, exposing the full scope of her betrayal. The realization hits Emily like ice. This was never about punishment, or even confrontation. It was about making her feel, finally, the helplessness she inflicted. Daniel's words land like measured blows. I didn't take the car to punish you. I took it so you'd finally feel what it's like to be left. The line is devoid of anger, yet carries the emotional force of months of betrayal and quiet suffering. Her defenses falter, replaced with a raw, unvarnished understanding of her own actions. Emily breaks, but not with dramatic theatrics. It's a quiet, internal collapse, her composure dissolving into stillness, a mix of shame, regret, and helplessness. Daniel watches, unwavering, feeling neither triumph nor vengeance. The room is filled with the weight of their shared history, now fractured beyond repair. He chooses divorce, not as an act of anger, but as a deliberate reclamation of his life and values. Every step he took, the observation, the waiting, the legal precautions, culminates in this resolution. Emily's tears, her whispered apologies, cannot reconstruct the trust once broken. Daniel's calm decision marks the final transfer of power. He walks away with dignity intact, leaving Emily to face the consequences of her choices. The climax is devastating not for its theatrics, but for its realism, the quiet, irreversible end of a life built on silence, lies, and betrayal. Emily breaks, but not with dramatic theatrics. It's a quiet, internal collapse, her composure dissolving into stillness, a mix of shame, regret, and helplessness. Daniel watches, unwavering, feeling neither triumph nor vengeance. The room is filled with the weight of their shared history, now fractured beyond repair. He chooses divorce, not as an act of anger, but as a deliberate reclamation of his life and values. Every step he took, the observation, the waiting, the legal precautions, culminates in this resolution. Emily's tears, her whispered apologies, cannot reconstruct the trust once broken. Daniel's calm decision marks the final transfer of power. He walks away with dignity intact, leaving Emily to face the consequences of her choices. The climax is devastating not for its theatrics, but for its realism, the quiet, irreversible end of a life built on silence, lies, and betrayal. The legal proceedings unfold with clarity and precision, reflecting the months of meticulous planning Daniel undertook. Every screenshot, every timestamp, every piece of documentation is presented methodically, leaving no room for argument or manipulation. There's no courtroom drama, no theatrics, no shouting. The process is clean, respectful, and final. Emily faces the consequences of her choices, the lawyer's calm questions, the neutral tone of the judge, the factual presentation of evidence, all underline the weight of her betrayal without turning into public spectacle. Jason's name surfaces only as a footnote, his disappearance leaving Emily alone to reckon with the fallout. Daniel observes quietly, detached from bitterness, focused on clarity and resolution. The court becomes a space where truth is honored, not revenge enacted. It's a testament to Daniel's patience and control, proving that empowerment is measured in dignity, foresight, and the ability to reclaim one's life on one's own terms. After the divorce is finalized, Daniel moves into a smaller, sparsely furnished apartment. The space is minimalist, serene, and peaceful, reflecting the clarity he seeks in his life. There are no excesses, no reminders of betrayal, only essentials that support his new routines. He begins therapy, confronting the emotional residue of his marriage, learning to identify when loyalty becomes self-abandonment. His routines are intentional: morning runs, quiet breakfasts, journaling, meditation, and moments of self-reflection. Each day reinforces boundaries he neglected in the past. The apartment, though modest, becomes a sanctuary where he rebuilds a sense of self-worth and agency. The silence that once symbolized absence and betrayal now represents calm and stability. Daniel's empowerment is subtle, grounded, and deliberate, a testament to resilience, self-respect, and the strength found in reclaiming one's life after being deeply wronged. Months have passed, and Daniel sits quietly in his apartment, the early morning sun streaming through bare windows. He scrolls through old photos of a life once shared with Emily, the laughter, the holidays, the moments he once cherished, and, without bitterness, begins deleting them. There's no anger in his actions, only acceptance. Each image removed symbolizes the release of attachment, the letting go of what was never fully his to control. He doesn't dwell on betrayal or regret. Instead, he feels a subtle lightness, a newfound clarity that comes from reclaiming his emotional space. The apartment, minimalist and serene, mirrors this internal state. Stripped of distractions, it holds only what is essential. Daniel's actions are not dramatic, not performative. They are quiet acts of self-respect, marking a definitive end to a chapter and the conscious choice to move forward without resentment. Fully present in his own life, later that day, Daniel walks through a busy parking lot and spots Emily across the distance. Time slows for a moment. Their eyes meet briefly. There is no confrontation, no words exchanged. He doesn't feel triumph, nor bitterness, only a quiet acknowledgement of what was and what has ended. Emily looks the same, yet the distance between them is no longer just physical. It is emotional, unbridgeable, but devoid of the tension that once suffocated him. In that fleeting interaction, Daniel realizes that life has continued on both sides, but he is no longer tethered to her choices or her mistakes. His gaze lingers for a heartbeat before he turns away, content in the knowledge that the past has no power over him anymore. This moment is not about closure from her. It is closure within himself, a quiet reclaiming of autonomy and peace. Later that day, Daniel walks through a busy parking lot and spots Emily across the distance. Time slows for a moment. Their eyes meet briefly. There is no confrontation, no words exchanged. He doesn't feel triumph, nor bitterness, only a quiet acknowledgement of what was and what has ended. Emily looks the same, yet the distance between them is no longer just physical. It is emotional, unbridgeable, but devoid of the tension that once suffocated him. In that fleeting interaction, Daniel realizes that life has continued on both sides, but he is no longer tethered to her choices or her mistakes. His gaze lingers for a heartbeat before he turns away, content in the knowledge that the past has no power over him anymore. This moment is not about closure from her. It is closure within himself, a quiet reclaiming of autonomy and peace.